Judge Walter Grayson leaned back in his chair, fingers drumming lazily against the polished wood. The air in the Los Angeles County Courthouse felt thick, almost suffocating, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Rows of spectators murmured quietly, craning their necks to see the young man at the defendant's table. He seemed too small, too inexperienced to face what lay ahead. Hands in his pockets, chin lifted just enough to show he wasn't afraid. Jalen Dawson, 19 years old, accused of grand theft auto and resisting arrest. Serious charges, serious consequences. But Grayson's eyes told the truth. This trial wasn't about the law. It was about expectation, and he expected Jalen to be just another nervous kid. Jalen, however, had spent years imagining this moment. He hadn't planned to stand in court as a defendant, but he knew every inch of the courtroom, every procedure, every tactic. While others memorized basketball stats or video game combos, he memorized case law, ran mock trials in his head, and played chess against imaginary prosecutors. His mother, Denise Dawson, a paralegal for more than 20 years, had filled their home with stories, prosecutors cutting corners, judges favoring some and ignoring others, defense attorneys barely trying. By the age of 14, Jalen could break down a trial better than most law students, but none of that mattered to Judge Grayson. "Let's make this quick," the judge said, flipping open the case file. "I have a golf game at 2. A ripple of chuckles spread across the courtroom, but Jalen's lips curled into a faint, almost imperceptible smirk. The first mistake had been made. Prosecutor Mitchell Carrington rose, polished shoes clicking on the floor. His suit was flawless, his tie immaculate. Confidence oozed from every gesture. "Your Honor," he began, "the state will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the defendant, Jalen Dawson, was caught red-handed in a stolen 2022 Audi A6, reported missing just hours before his arrest. Officers pursued him through downtown, where he allegedly attempted to flee. Fingerprints were found on the steering wheel. The evidence speaks for itself." The words hit the room like a hammer. Judge Grayson nodded. "Sounds straightforward to me. For most people, it probably was." But Jalen noticed the tiny cracks, a hesitation in the officer's statement, the prosecutor's over-reliance on paperwork, the absence of the forensic specialist. The courtroom laughed quietly. Jalen stayed still, silent, observing, waiting. All eyes shifted to Lisa Thornton, the public defender, who had barely spoken all morning. "Your Honor, my client," Jalen placed a gentle hand on her arm. A silent plea. She had to let him do this. She hesitated, then stepped back. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor," Jalen said calmly. A ripple of shock spread across the room. The bailiff raised his eyebrows. Carrington's smirk faltered. "I'll be defending myself," Jalen repeated. The weight of the room shifted. This was no longer a routine case. "Before I begin," Jalen said, "I'd like to confirm something with the prosecution." Carrington raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead." "You said Officer Daniel Ruiz personally saw me behind the wheel before I was arrested?" "That's correct," Carrington replied, exhaling. "And that testimony is in his report?" "Yes," Jalen nodded slowly. "Then I move to dismiss that testimony as evidence, Your Honor." Grayson squinted. "On what grounds?" "Because Officer Ruiz never saw me in that car," Jalen explained. "In fact, he wasn't even on duty when the chase began." A murmur rose from the gallery. Carrington's face tightened. "Your Honor, are we really going to take the word of a defendant over a trained officer?" Jalen shrugged casually. "If the GPS data confirms his location, fine. If it doesn't, then that testimony collapses." For the first time, the courtroom shifted uneasily. Carrington shuffled through papers, searching for control. "While we wait for GPS records, the fact remains that fingerprints were found on the steering wheel." Jalen nodded. "True, but logic matters. Let's think this through." He faced the jury, connecting with each of them. "Imagine trying on a jacket in a store. Hours later, someone steals it. Do your fingerprints prove you stole it?" Jurors exchanged glances. The car was parked outside a 7-Eleven hours before the alleged theft. I leaned against it. I opened the door. "Did I take it? No. Did I drive it? No. Just curiosity. Does touching something make you a criminal? And what about the forensic specialist?" Jalen asked. Grayson blinked. Subpoenaed. No. So the state relies on evidence they never allowed me to challenge. No chain of custody. No questioning the analysis. Jalen reached into his folder. Your Honor, I'd like to enter a statement from the vehicle's owner, Mr. Raymond Whitaker. A statement never submitted in prosecution files. He read aloud. I left my car running. Some kid jumped in and took off, but it wasn't the guy you arrested. The kid was white. A collective gasp filled the courtroom. I was arrested blocks away, Jalen continued, voice calm but piercing. I wasn't near the car. I wasn't running. The only thing tying me to this case is assumptions and bad police work. Judge Grayson exhaled slowly, rubbing his temple. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted. Grayson looked at the jury. Does the prosecution have anything further? Carrington's face flushed. No, Your Honor. The judge leaned forward. Case dismissed. Stunned silence. Then chaos. Half the courtroom erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled. Jalen didn't move. He let the moment settle. Grayson, still gripping the gavel, looked at him with recognition, maybe even regret. Mr. Dawson, you should consider law school. Jalen smirked. He didn't need to consider it. He was already on his way. Outside, the world waited. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions, flashing lights. Jalen pulled his hoodie over his head. This wasn't about fame. This was about truth. His mother, Denise, waited at the bottom of the steps. Arms crossed, face unreadable. Boy, you scared me half to death, Jalen chuckled. Had to take a risk, Ma. She hugged him tight. You always were the stubborn one. Across the street, Judge Grayson watched. For the first time, he didn't see a defendant. He saw a young man who forced the system to look in the mirror. And for once, it blinked first. How many cases had gone this way? How many people convicted, not by evidence, but by bias, shortcuts, and assumptions? Jalen had knowledge, courage, strategy. But what about the ones who didn't? This wasn't just one case. It was a lesson. Truth, patience, and courage matter. Jalen knew what he had to do next. He wouldn't be the defendant again. He would be the attorney. And he wouldn't be alone. Justice is built on laws, yes, but it's upheld by people. And people can change. Stories like this remind us. Vigilance, courage, and knowledge can make the system listen. And maybe, next time, it won't be Jalen. It might be someone you know.